Well, you know, the main deal for flipping for smallmouth is the way I keep my fishing simple. Okay, I like to flip for largemouth. I like to flip. I grew up in the South. There's a lot of heavy cover. It's a technique that I really enjoy. I'd say it's one of my favorite techniques. So the deal with that is when I go any place in the country, I look for something that's similar to me. It makes me feel comfortable. My motto is whatever part of the country we go to, whether we're out west, east, north, south, whatever lake or body of water, river system it is, this just an extension of my home body of water. I feel that's just a simple way of looking at everything. It's just a different creek arm. It's a different part of the lake. But it's still all the same, and regardless of wherever we go in a country, there's always something I can relate that's familiar to the way I grew up. So it's a confidence thing. The deal with flipping is it's not that I'll get more bites than the guy that's out there dragging or whatever. In a bass tournament, you know, this is something that I created for a bass tournament, so it would make me more efficient. You know, I'm fishing for 5, you know, our normal tournaments. You want to catch the 5 biggest fish. I felt like this was the best way for me to catch them. I was confident with what I was doing. I was using tackle that I was really comfortable with. It's not that I'm not comfortable with light line and a spinning rod. It's just I know if I get that fish, regardless of what it is on that big tackle, it's the quicker I can get him in. You know, I'm all about the bite. I'm not about the fight. I figured that out saltwater fishing. I'll go out saltwater fishing and get one of those giant fish on and fight it for about 30 seconds to a minute, and I'm like, okay, I'll thumb it and break it off. I'm more interested in getting a strike, getting the fish in the boat, and getting back out there and getting another one. And I'll tell you, and used to, I'm not bad about this anymore, but one would slack the line and start swimming off of something shallow, and I'm going to slip up on him. And you've already put twice as much in it as you normally would. But the deal about having the softer rod is for that situation also, but the deal is with that big rod, when I set the hook, I'll have a tendency to pull that fish too much, and then I got to catch slack. Well, if I've tore a big hole with that stiff rod, that gives him a chance to get off. Where if I load up on, say, a 2.5 pounder, regardless of what size he is, and the rod stays loaded, the rod is, I'm pulling, and you know, I can still pull just as hard, but the deal is he never gets off the rod. He stays loaded on the rod the whole time. And that just keeps him from getting slack. So if I have tore a big hole in his mouth, you know, up close with that big line, you know, braided line or whatever, it just is I don't lose as many fish that way. Another deal is it gives that time to pull that hook without blowing it open. And that goes back to the tungsten. That's another reason I like the softer rod is when he gets it, the rod has started to load up. And I really like them. If everything's perfect and working right, I really like to have that fish on the rod before I swing. I don't want any slack. I've learned this from the past. You do more damage with slack in a line when you set the hook than you do when you're tight on the fish. And they don't feel us. You know, now if I reel up and pull hard on him, anybody who's ever practiced for a bass tournament and shook one off, how many times you'll like, man, especially if you got your buddy with you, look at that, that sucker won't spit it out. And then the first thing we do when we go back there for the tournament, one bites, we jump on him, miss him, and you go, man, how did that happen? Man, I tried to shake that fish off in practice, and I drug him out in the middle of the lake before he finally spit the bait out. So the deal is I know from that not to get in any hurry. And I want all my slack out of my line, and I kind of want him loaded on there. Because the deal is when you pick up on one and he feels a little pressure, he should. If he catches anything in nature, it's alive. It's going to be trying to get away. You know, so if he just feels you a little bit, a lot of times I find what happens, especially when they're not getting the bait good, if they're testing it, if I move it a little bit, oh, that sucker will crush it, then he'll get it a lot better. And so that limber rod, I want him loaded on there, so when I pull and set the hook and that rod starts to load up, it's pulling that hook more than punching it. I mean, because with these no-stretch lines, whether it's fluorocarbon or braid, I mean, you think about it. There's only that much distance between the hook point and the barb. That's all we have to move the hook. So when we pull from here to here, and that 220-pound guy has jumped on that 2-pound bass, I mean, you know, it's overkill. You know, so I just take my time and make sure. And I find even on northern largemouth are a little, it's funny, they have a tendency to be a little mealy mouth. You know, not crush that bait as good. And if I let them load and let them pull down a little bit, they feel that tension, and the deal is they think, boy, whatever it is trying to get away. And they ever give it a little extra and get it in deeper, or then they crush the bait. But again, I'm bad to do that, to get off what I was talking about. But as far as cover on what smallmouth relate to, the only difference I find between flipping for them and fishing for largemouth is they have a tendency to relate to the edge of the cover. Sometimes I have to pitch a little farther because of that, because they're not over in something hidden. You know, if they're in the grass, they're in holes in the grass, or they're where rocks on the bottom. That's probably the #1 thing I find wherever we go where there's grass and they're relating to it. If I find rock, it's a gold mine. It may be a little old patch as big as that table or whatever, but that's the main thing I'm looking for.
Hey, I'm Pete Gluzek,
And I'm Mike Iaconelli.
and this is Bass University TV.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests.
Everywhere I go in the country, I'm trying to use these techniques because I catch big fish that way.
From on the water to in the classroom,
We want to use that bait to help make that area even smaller and really find that sweet spot.
you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills.
You want something that's got a nice limber action, that's going to allow you to build pressure and keep those hooks pinned against that fish's mouth.
Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time.
Hold on, because you're going to catch the big fish.
Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best.
That's a key theory in all of fishing.
Subscribe to Bass University TV today.
Man, does it trigger a lot of strikes.
Here's the part that you're not going to hear anywhere else. This is the Bass University TV exclusive.